Alright, so this is the dock project. This is the view of the river from our deck. The goal of this project is to get a dock in the water so that we can enjoy the river.
Pathway down to the river. You can see the river there. We do have steps, but they're a bit overgrown. Looks like this needs to be mowed. And the final resting place of the dock will be somewhere in here once we get it done. Fox River, ladies and gentlemen. Which you can see that direction is toward Green Bay on Lake Michigan. And that direction is toward Lake Winnebago, but quite a ways up there, 15 miles maybe, 8 miles that way. And that's the remnants of an old standing dock that we're going to replace with a new floating dock. Okay, moving the barrels. Of course, it helps to have 3 naked guys working with you. All right, so here's the square, rectangle, whatever. All right, so we screwed in. These are 2x8s for the outside frame, and we just pre-screwed them with 3 treated lumber decking screws, 3-inch. And then we're putting this high-quality commercial docking gear, which is galvanized metal, resist corrosion. And I'll show you how we do that over here. There are 8 screws or bolts in each of these, and on the first one I did all 8 drills and they didn't line up nicely, and then I wrestled with them for half an hour. And on this one I just drilled 2 of them, lined it up, and then drilled the rest once the plates were in place, and it went much smoother. So I'm going to do that over here.
I want to name my son Jasper now.
Jasper.
Move your board! Gotta get the. Oh my word, knock down all the smaller boards. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not my.
Alright, so here we're knocking down the decking to exactly 12 feet and half an inch. 144.5 inches. Look at the precision work that AJ Newman does as he cuts off his fingers precisely.
Very accurate guy. Right down.
And there you have it, folks. A board cut perfectly. Okay, a couple things to notice. One was we built ourselves a wheel and axle system. Obviously there's only one wheel here now. We would have had another wheel on top of that. We just used 1 1/4 inch steel pipe. We put those end caps on it to keep the wheels from falling off. We centered it on the dock, the horizontal length of the dock, and all we did is took 2 blocks, and then another block to keep it all together, just a few temporary screws there. We were able to then lift it up on its side and wheel it all the way down the 60-degree incline down to the river. It took 4 of us to do that, but we probably could have done it with 3. It was a little bit of a challenge, but we were able to move the entire dock in the process. Okay, we have not put the decking on yet, and we are just now strapping the barrels on. So as you can see, we're using vinyl strapping to just connect the barrels to the portions of the dock where we wanted them. The idea is that gravity is going to mainly keep them in place, but the decking or the strapping will make sure we secure it while we're moving the dock. And you know, I think if I was doing it again, I might have made the barrel cradles a little wider. These are 18 inches and the barrels are 23 across. I wanted to make sure the barrel couldn't crush in between there and then, you know, due to the force of weight on top of the dock, push all the way through. But I think I could have gone maybe even to 20 inches for the cradle, which would allow the barrel to sit a little deeper into the cradle, and at the same time then would have made it so that the dock is not as far off the water when it's sitting in the water. We decided to put our bung holes, yeah, that's what I said, bung holes horizontal to the water, and that we're thinking that the dock won't sink low enough that that'll still give us access to the bung holes when nobody is on the dock. If that's not true, then I don't know if it's better to have them parallel to the water or perpendicular to the water. The method we're using is just using these vinyl straps. We have 3 screws and we've doubled it up. In hindsight, I would have used washers, because the screws, if you tighten them too much, will go right through the vinyl. Washers there would have been a better call. We're wrapping it around, and as you can see, it's tightened up on both sides. So these are pretty secure. I'm trying to move this one and I can't really move it. So the next challenge is to put these last 2 barrels on. The theory is that we have 8 barrels holding up this section of the dock. This is one of 2 sections. Each barrel should be able to, if you use a little bit of physics, each barrel's weight in water is about 475 pounds. Therefore, it would displace that much water. Therefore, it has that much lift of buoyancy per barrel when the barrel is fully submerged. In other words, if the barrel was completely underwater, it would be lifting about 475 pounds. So if the barrel is only partially underwater, it's only going to lift a fraction of that, which means that the more weight you put on the dock, the deeper it'll sink in the water. They thought that 4 barrels then would hold at least something like 3,500, you guys do the math, pounds. 3,500 minus what we think is going to be about 600 pounds worth of decking and docking. So that leaves a good 3,000, 2,400, somewhere around that pounds of person weight, or barbecue steaks or beer or whatever it is you have on your dock. So we should be able to get at least 10 people plus accessories plus the decking on this dock before all the barrels are submerged. Okay, that's that for now. Okay, all the barrels are in place, and now we're going to attempt to put this thing in the water. However, there's only 2 of us. We don't know exactly how heavy it is, but we feel like it's around 600 pounds. So, being as we're both weak and frail, we're not sure how this is going to go, because it's also upside down, as you may notice. Believe it or not, the barrels actually do not go on top of the dock. Okay, if you remember, there was a dock sitting right there, and now that dock is gone because He-Man and myself did that. Okay, so we effectively slid it down on its top until it was down in this area, then we pushed it over, then we floated it out. Right now it's just tied there. Those are some old posts. We'll probably pull those out and replace them with some new posts, which will allow it to float up and down as the river changes its height. Right now it's maybe about 25% of how high it can be. And so I expect it to go a little lower in the summer and then much higher again in the spring and the fall. So at this point, all the barrels stayed in place. It floats. You'll notice that the barrels are actually only about 3 inches, maybe even less, in the water with just the frame of the dock. Once we put some decking on it, they'll sink a little lower, but it looks like we're going to be plenty of support just from the 8 barrels. All right. Okay, so there is the finished dock. It's floating pretty high right now, but it's got all the decking on, so it's pretty bare bones at this point. No benches, no table, no cooler rack, you know, no barbecue grill. So all that stuff will have to come on, and this is half of it. So the other half will connect on the far side, which we're going to have to do at a different time. Also, it does not have the poles. I mean, those poles are, like I said before, those are old and we're not going to use those. So I've got to put new poles in. So that's just kind of tied off to the poles right now, and we'll get those in as soon as I buy them. I'll probably go do that tomorrow. You can see the sun is beginning to set on the water, but the Fox River.
All right, so we bought this portion, this bridge that goes out to the dock. This had been something we bought a while ago and was just sitting in our backyard, and so it is not floating at this point. So you'll notice that it's just kind of sitting in there. We still got to get barrels under it so that it floats as well, but for now it'll work. But of course we still have to do the other half of the dock. As I think I mentioned earlier, that this part that you can see now is one part of it, and then we're going to add a second identical part sticking further out into the river, so it's really half the dock is done. Maybe next year I'll get to the second half. So here's a final panoramic view of the river. This time we're taking the picture from on the dock. You can see there's a dam there about a half mile up from our spot on the river, and I'll just fade out my wonderful voice here so you can hear the beautiful silence of the Fox River.